The latest Coffee Stain Studios video went into detail about resource nodes that are changing, as well as some recipes that are changing. Some of these changes are drastic enough that you will build your factories in completely different places, and it's further proof that you should just start a new save for 1.0 rather than trying to make your current save work. Too many nodes have moved, too many processes will be changed up, and of course you'll miss out on the story elements in the way they're intended to be experienced. Your old saves will technically work, but at what cost? One of the first notable changes is that the absurd number of quartz nodes near the Titan Forest have been condensed down into just 3. I don't think this will be too big of a deal. Quartz turns into quartz crystal and silica, both of which are used in relatively small quantities within production lines. You need some for crystal oscillators, which in general you don't need a ton of. It also goes into aluminum ingots, which you might need quite a lot of, but it's still not necessarily an overwhelming amount. So yes, quartz is useful, but I don't think this should ruin anyone's plans too much. And honestly, the nodes were basically just moved farther away, so if you need the same amount of quartz, you'll just need to build factories in more than one spot. The updated quartz nodes in the Titan Forest near to the desert should still be plenty to get up and running and start a reasonable production line. It's actually a good thing from a balancing perspective, and makes it more enticing to do quartz on other parts of the map instead of only doing it right there. While there are more nodes, and just more in general of every resource, coal is perhaps one of the craziest ones, at least visually, with an absolute ton of new nodes in the Dune Forest area. I don't think this is a super popular location to build in, so this may convince players to make more use of this part of the map, at least for resource extraction, if not also production or coal power generation. It's definitely a big opportunity for massive concentrated steel production as well. For general balancing, it's nice to see the Northern Forest get nerfed, and other less popular biomes get buffs. The Northern Forest was clearly the best spot on the map for resources, and it wouldn't be good game design to have one biome that's always better than all the rest, so it's great that they're more on an even playing field now. And yeah, even for my own saves, I tend to always go to the same predictable places for certain resources. So if we can be encouraged to explore and make use of more nodes on the map, that's a plus. Moving on to recipes, the big news is that screws are no longer required for computers. This is important because it's hard to make a ton of screws, especially without alternate recipes. This is both because of their multi-step process and the fact that they can saturate a belt pretty easily due to the high quantities they're often needed in. But it's also really important because this change completely removes iron from the computer production line. Iron is, of course, one of the most common resources, so this isn't super impactful, but one less type of resource needed is still one less type of resource needed, and I'm not complaining. Looking outwards further, this also means there's no iron required for supercomputers. This makes them way less daunting. Another big change is fuel generators going from 150 megawatts to 250 megawatts. This is a huge change, and a good one. It feels like you need to make so many fuel generators for a fuel setup, and you don't even get that much power. This buff will make fuel power that much better and hold players off for longer until nuclear. This was a big imbalance and a pain point for the middle part of the game, and it just felt weird. In fact, a lot of mid-game stuff seems to be changing. I'm glad to see that geothermal generators were also given more consideration, and that they'll be usable at a more appropriate stage of the game, and no longer require advanced late-game items to build. The timing of when you can use them and when you unlock them just seems way better now. So between the node changes and the fuel generator changes, I think the Blue Crater region is going to be really popular for turbo fuel specifically. There are a ton of new coal and sulfur nodes, and water's always nice to have as well. It's the perfect combination of resources to make this area super useful. So in conclusion, I would say it's best to start a fresh save for 1.0, and it seems like most people agree. And if you're upset that all these changes are going to ruin the save that you spent 2,000 hours in, then all I have to say to you is that this is an early access game, and you should have known what you were signing up for. Be thankful your save is even going to be compatible with the full release. I feel like that's way more than you can expect from most games. But I think most of us are going to be happy to experience this game from the start once again, just as Coffee Stain intends. Thanks so much for watching, and if you liked this video, subscribe and like so you can see the next news or guide video.